Real.
Yeah, what's up, fam? I wanted to talk about a couple of things, the NFL and the NBA. And I wanted to talk about why we must own our own leagues, sports leagues. Number one is because we're the ones playing the sports. We know sports up and down. We understand sports. We understand sports better than anybody. We're the best at sports. But the reason why we have to have our own leagues is because what's going on in the NFL is not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. Uh, I just heard on ESPN that the NFL agreed to donate $100 million to different causes that players are interested in. So this is essentially hush money, trying to get them to shut up and not protest anymore, protest the anthem or whatever. Uh, my thing is, why did it take all this? Why did it take all of this for the NFL to take action? As soon as Colin Kaepernick took a knee, they should have been on the phone with him, like, okay, we see what you're saying. Well, we hear you. What can we do to help this situation? Because we have disgruntled fans, players or whatnot. What can we do to bridge the gap to try to help the situation? But instead, they fought Colin Kaepernick tooth and nail. They blackballed him, and they thought they were going to get away with it until they underestimated how much support Colin Kaepernick had. And now they're pledging $100 million to different causes. Now, it's a nice gesture because money can change things. Money can, make things happen. Uh, but at the end of the day, we got to realize that Colin Kaepernick wasn't necessarily protesting the NFL. You know, Colin Kaepernick was protesting something very specific. And the way I see it, he was protesting the hypocrisy in America, saying that, you say this is the land of the free, home of the brave, and, this is the greatest country in the world. Well, act like it. Treat your citizens like it is. Don't just say it and then turn around and shoot people dead in the streets, lock people up for nothing, deny people jobs, deny people housing. You know, uh, so don't just say something and not do it. Be about it. And that's pretty much what Colin Kaepernick was saying. And all these white supremacists like the NFL owners and Donald Trump and all these other white supremacists, they're afraid to look in the mirror because they know it's true and they know they feel guilty. There's a guilt that they feel behind it. And I think white people are ashamed of their history. That's what it comes down to. White folks are ashamed of their history. That's why they never want to talk about it. I'd be ashamed of that history too. If my ancestors did to people what whites did to us, I'd be really ashamed of that. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't even want to claim my ancestors after finding out something like that. So I understand why they don't want to talk about it. And I'm not even the kind of person that's here saying, hey, we need to have a debate. We need to sit down and talk about this. I'm like, F it. I'm not going to sit here and try to debate or convince somebody who's not going to listen anyway. They don't want to listen. They don't want to know our struggle. They never will. You just have to accept that. They don't know what our life is like. They don't understand what a black life is. And they don't care to know. So what we need to do is get amongst ourselves and build our own and say the hell with them. Because I would love them to try to have an NFL without black players. I would love to see that. Without black players, there would be no NFL. Them billions of dollars would stop rolling in. That would bring the NFL to its knees in one day. That's all they would. The players don't realize how much power they have, uh, which is kind of sad because it's almost like God giving you a magic wand saying, "Hey, I'm giving you all power to do what you want. You don't do anything with it." These players think that all they are is just athletes. They think all they can do is play football. Uh, and they've been taught that, and maybe they've been brainwashed into thinking that. But when you think all you can do is play football, that's all you ever gonna do. That's all you ever gonna want to do. But I'm a little disappointed that a lot of players didn't back Kaepernick on this or whatever. I understand it though. People have to work and get their paychecks. But I guess my only question would be though is what's the alternative? What's the alternative? Because At the end of the day, getting a paycheck is nice. Getting paid millions of dollars is nice, I'm sure. But if you're constantly getting kicked around by the president, these owners, and saying that they don't want prisoners running the inmates running the prison, calling you SOBs, and Jerry Jones saying you're gonna play or else, or you're gonna stand or else you won't play. At some point, you have to stand up for yourself. You got to speak up for yourself. I can't speak up for nobody. Can speak up for you. Your girl can't speak up for you. You got to speak up for yourself, man. You got to be a man about it. At the end of the day, you're the only person that's got to look yourself in the mirror. And what these football players need to realize, this is the most important thing I want these players to realize. A football career doesn't last very long. The average football career is only 3 to 4 years. So you're going to be a black man the rest of your life. Remember that. So once you walk away from that game, it's back to being a black man again. So I understand you're under the shelter of the NFL right now and you hide behind that shield, but understand that shield is not going to protect you once you leave it. So just understand that these guys, you were a black man before you started playing, and that's what you're going to be after you finish. And at some point, you're going to have to come back to the black community for something, because I hate to break it to you. The white community is not going to accept you. The only reason they accept you now is because you're making them money and you're entertaining them. For those two reasons, you're entertaining them and making them money. Once you stop doing that, they're done with you. They have no more use for you. They're through with you. So you have to be very careful about throwing black people under the bus while you're still in the NFL. And that's what a lot of these athletes are quick to do. They'll throw black people under the bus because they think they have the protection of these white folks, but they're not protecting you. They're protecting their brand. They're protecting their bottom line. They're protecting their profit. You're nothing but a commodity to them. And, at the end of the day, you're going to have to face the fact that when these owners say what they say, look at it from their perspective. To them, you're a piece of property. Think about it. When players get traded, and whatnot, they move these players around like pieces on a chessboard. And these players have to get up, uproot their families, move across the country, do this and do that, and they moving you around like pieces on a chessboard. So you may be making millions of dollars, but at the end of the day, somebody else totally controls your life. I mean, totally controls your life. And to be honest, playing in a sports league they pretty much control you more than a employer does on a regular job. Because in these sports leagues, like I said, they can trade you and have you move across the country at the drop of a dime and change your whole lifestyle up. Regular jobs don't normally do that, even though they can, but you usually have a choice when it comes to a job, whether you want to relocate or not. When it comes to these sports leagues, you don't even have a choice. You just get your butt up and go. You have to do what they say. So I don't feel comfortable with seeing black men moved around and pushed around and controlled like that. It just makes me feel uncomfortable and awkward. And to me, I mean, as a man, you should feel awkward, But I guess you have to get to your own boiling point. You have to get to your own, line in the sand before you can make a move. Nobody can do that for you. And as far as the NBA, one thing that's interesting about the NBA is, yes, they have a lot more leeway. They have a lot more freedom to do and say what they want. Their contracts have guaranteed money. NFL contracts don't have that. They have a lot more latitude than NFL players. That's true. But the money that these NBA players are getting, these contracts, I think it creates a culture of dependency and complacency. Because as long as you're getting paid big dollars, you're never going to want to own your own. I mean, if you go to an NBA player right now that has a large $100 million contract or whatever and say, hey, why don't you guys start your own league? He's going to say, why would I want to leave this? This is the best thing in the world. I'm getting paid. And it takes me back, when I think about that, it takes me back to the famous speech by Malcolm X, the house Negro and the field Negro. The field Negro says, "Look, man, let's. This is. I hate this. This is not the way we should live. This is hell. Let's get away from here. Let's escape." And the house Negro is saying, "What can be better than this? I get a nice meal. I live under a great roof. Master feeds me well. What can be better? What could be a better life than this?" It's the same exact thing, just on a different scale. You know, uh, just because you live in your own house and you have millions of dollars, you gotta realize your life, to a certain degree, is really being controlled by somebody else. That's just reality. It really is. It's being controlled by somebody else. You're not in control of your own destiny. You're a multimillionaire, but you're not in control of your own destiny. Somebody can walk in that locker room at any time and say you're fired. They can cut your money off, you know, for the most part. So, not in the NFL, not in the NBA so much, but in the NFL they can, and in a lot of cases in the NBA they can. So these professional athletes, I don't expect them to be advocates for blacks. They never have been. Uh, but I do expect you to speak up for yourself. My thing is, the problem I have with the NFL players is they won't even speak up for themselves. I mean, let alone the black community. They don't have the balls to speak up for themselves. That's a problem. That's troubling. That's real concerning to me. And you know, I know if I saw one of them guys on the street and I said something disrespectful, they'd be ready to jump all over me. you know, but white men tell you to stand up, you stand your butt up. I guess that's the irony in all this. These guys are so physically imposing, but yet have such weak, feeble minds, and are so passive and so delicate. You know, it's almost a little humorous when you think about it. It's almost like it's really ironic, the way this whole thing plays out. Because you're talking about the NFL, man. These are some of the toughest guys in the world, really, when it comes to sports. But yet, they're some of the softest guys in the world. So I would just like to see them guys speak up for them. You don't have to speak up for me. I can speak for myself. I understand these guys don't want to speak up for the community. I understand that they're probably afraid to for various reasons. I don't understand those reasons, but they are. But speak up for yourself, though. You don't have to be an advocate or anything, but at least have some type of self-respect or dignity to say, wait a minute, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna put up with this. That there has to be a line drawn in the sand. You know, you're gonna tell people that I'm gonna wait a minute. You know, you consult with me first as a man before you go telling the public what I'm going to do. Uh, at least that's the least you can do. But I guess these guys can be bought, with big dollars. Um, as far as walking away from a job paying big dollars and walking away from your livelihood, I don't think that's an excuse. I've seen people walk away from jobs making, living check to check, and they were discriminated against, and they walked away from it and, didn't have anything to go home to, didn't have millions of dollars in the bank, but they had their pride, though. They had their pride and their self respect. So I know a lot of people that have walked off of jobs because they didn't feel like they didn't weren't being treated fairly, including myself. you know, uh, I'm not afraid to walk off any job if I feel like you know I'm not prospering, or I'm not getting opportunities that I deserve, or if I feel like I'm being discriminated against. I don't mind walking away from anything, because at the end of the day, that's all I have is me and God. That's all I have to rely on. I'm not gonna sit here and rely on another man. Uh, them dudes ain't gonna take care of you the rest of your life. All you have is yourself and your family. That's all you have at the end of the day. Those are the only people that's gonna be there for you anyway. So, just my thoughts. Until next time, peace.